coming up on the 70% Podcast.
So we have Steve Pausenbach.
There you go.
Do you feel like there's an autocracy because we only have two political parties right now? So either the Democrats are in charge.
No, because
And it flows
autocracy
down
means one.
the one in charge.
Deuceocracy.
Oh, deuceocracy.
I don't know if that's a word.
Words.
I'm just going to make up a new word.
Yeah, let's do it.
That'll work.
We do that on the show all the time.
So the two-party system, and I said it last week, it's broke.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
I agree.
It's broke, and because of, I think we both on agreement, the super PACs, the amount of money that is poured into elections has so tainted anything that anybody can do at that point.
Right.
That, do I feel like they're working for Johnny over at Chevron? Sure. Yeah. Does Zuckerberg have the ear of somebody? Probably not, only because I don't know anybody that would listen to him.
Right. But he does have that money. And
he's
I think
got the money.
Between the super PACs and the lobbying and all that other stuff, it does roll down to money, or roll up, roll down.
It comes down.
Comes down to money.
Comes down to
Thank
money.
you.
And look what they're yelling about Canada right now.
Mm-hmm.
Trudeau just, basically used a martial law style effect to say, we're done with this. We're going to move on. That's the way it's going to be. We're done with it. We're going to move on, and nobody can.
Right. We're just going to take. We're not going to let you.
We're going to take your trucks. We're going to take your
gonna-
bank
yeah,
accounts.
Right.
We're going to
You can't get gas because you have no money.
At that point, then I would say if that was America, now we need we're probably going to need to redo a lot. And your job, along with Mike's, is to get the 70% moving, to get that 70%, because even if you can get the 70% to start, and all you need is 52% of the 70%, you got to get to that 52, and you got to get things moving. But again, the key is you're always going to make somebody mad.
Right.
You can't please everybody, and that's the problem. Where it comes down into the compromise. Why is it me? Why do I got to suffer? Why is it me and not him?
Right. We have our opinions, and Mike always likes to say, in my opinion,
He's never wrong. just so you know, Mike's never wrong.
He's never wrong?
No.
Oh, I'll argue that all day long.
The 70% Podcast with your host, Amy Alexander and Mike Sewell.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 70% Podcast. Mike isn't here tonight. He is actually in New Orleans. He missed Mardi Gras, I think, but
Yes.
we are still getting, if you look at his Snap or his Facebook, he's still having a good time. So
It's hard not to have a good time in New Orleans.
So we have Steve Pausenbach
There you go.
with us. And if you guys listened to the show last week, you know that Steve was here with us with JD. We had a conversation regarding religion and some of the things that separate us in that genre of aspects of things that separate us. And then we moved into politics a little bit. And we invited Steve here because he is very well versed in election laws, the whole gamut of what the most controversial part of our elections are now, from the 2020 election, and all that controversy to what's going on in 2022 and what could be possible in 2024. We've also had some local changes lately with some redistricting and stuff, so we're going to hit on that a little bit. I guess the point of the story being, please pay attention, because we know, Steve and I and most people, we really truly feel that elections do have consequences.
Most definitely.
Definitely. I mean,
whether it be the person that represents you or the look of the particular party's outlook for the future. And that's all that politics really, what are we going to do in the future? What are we going to do in the future? What are we going to do in the future? So when we have the local elections, state elections, presidential elections, whether it be whatever it is, all of these have forbearing consequences because the person is usually elected. I mean, congressmen are only 2 years, senator is 6, president of 4. Here in the state, same sort of thing. The state alderman or the state senators, I believe, are 4 years.
I think 4. See,
Are they
is
6?
That
That
yeah.
one I'd actually have to look up again because I just, for some reason, it's not popping in my head. But yeah, and I guess, you and I had talked a little bit about going into this, and really what lately is coming about out of these elections is the polarization.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So when we talk about the polarization, and you're listening to the 70% podcast,
Mm-hmm.
and that means that 70% of us really are more towards the middle, and we have the 15 on the left and the 15 on the right. It's just all we seem to be hearing today is the left and the right.
Right.
And when I say the left and the right, I mean the conservative right and the radical left.
Right.
That's really what's coming forward to me.
Do you think the conservative, like when you say radical left and then you say conservatives, do you think of conservatives, as being radical?
Yeah, in their own aspect, certainly they are. But their radicalization is, we want to go back to 1950. There was no problems and everybody loved each other and we all made a ton of money. They look at it through rose-colored glasses because obviously we had the Korean conflict. Civil rights were nowhere to be found. Well, I shouldn't say nowhere to be found. We had the budding of the civil rights at that point. But it seems to the aspect that these guys don't want to really look at that portion of it.
Okay. And then the extreme liberals, how are they looking at?
The extreme liberals, you look at it and you go, what's extremist about them? They want to give away, they want to take everybody's money and redistribute it. They generally are socialists at heart, and they truly want really to take everything and redistribute it equally.
Because they think everybody will be happy that way.
They that's their belief, is that yes, everything will be.
Do you think most of them are willing to give up their own money, or they just want to give up other people's money?
I never met anybody willing to give up their own money.
Exactly.
Whether it be, what's the guy on Jimmy, not Fallon, the other one?
Oh,
ABC. What's his name, Nate? Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy
yes.
Kimmel.
Never
I mean,
mind.
here's a guy that consistently talks about, how bad, everything is. And last time I checked, he wasn't, one of these guys going, equal pay for everybody. And that means I'm going to take $100,000. I'm going to pay you for running the camera
Right.
$100,000. And,
Yeah, nobody's idea of utopia means that they just get a lot less.
no,
Right.
I've never met anybody that said,
No.
oh, by the way, I have a lot. Let me just go ahead and make sure that you get some.
Yeah. I don't consider, and I guess, I feel like I'm more conservative on the fiscal side, for sure. I think I'm more libertarian, if anything. Just leave me alone and let me run my life. And have as little laws as possible. However, I don't, when it comes to conservatism, I understand where they want to hold back because you can't have that socialist attitude and still produce things the way we have. From the liberal standpoint, you can't just give people everything and still have things the way we have. I don't think either party, I think both parties want to be, like you said, that they want to be back in the 50s. I don't think they see it that way. I think they see it as this has worked for this long and we can't just all of a sudden make all these changes and expect things to work out. For instance, and this, I'm not, anybody listening, this is not a show to bash the liberals or the conservatives or a certain president or a certain whatever. But we do know that for in the last year and a half, gas prices have gone up dramatically.
Yes.
Dramatically. And people are, well, it's not the president's fault. Well, policies that the president believes in, that his party follows, or that he chooses not to veto or whatever, that does have an impact.
Well, sure.
And so, I mean, elections do have consequences. So Biden is okay with getting foreign oil and not getting domestic oil because his party believes in this new green energy policy where we're going to all just, I don't even know, end up on and I'm sure you have an opinion about that, but to me, it's like you can't just shut it off on that side, pick it up on this side, and expect everybody to just understand what's going on.
One of the things that actually today that was brought up was, okay, if we, 10 or 11% we import from Russia at this point, if we shut that off, they actually talked about rolling back the sanctions that they have against Venezuela to go ahead and have them pump more gas, or Iran.
Yeah, or I mean, changing your direction to get your gas from Russia and then go over to Venezuela or Saudi Arabia or Iraq or anywhere is not the answer either. Where were we getting our oil 2 years ago?
We were still importing quite a bit of it, as much as anybody would have you believe that we were on our way to energy independence. We were producing more oil at that point because of fracking. We were also running the Northwest pipeline. Was it the Northwest? Keystone Pipeline. Yeah, the Keystone Pipeline, which they shut down. And when I say they, I mean the Democrats. President Joe Biden was one of the first things that he signed off on was shutting that down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Had he not shut that down at that point and just let the work finish or continue, we would be much closer to being able to say, fine, we'll get our oil coming out of Canada.
Right. Screw you, Russia. We don't need your stuff.
And we'd probably be in a lot better space right now than where we're at. Although 10%, I mean, if you want to get into the whole Russian thing, and I mean, honestly, I can't see allowing that guy, and when I say that guy, I mean Putin.
Mm-hmm.
I can't see allowing him to continue in the way that he's that he's been operating. Now, he did pull back a little bit under the previous president. They had a buddy-buddy relationship. But anybody that
Sometimes
studies...
you do have to be friends with your enemies in order for your enemies to not want to kick your ass.
Well, anytime if you go back and you study history and
I was just going to put a name out there that if she's listening from 6th grade, you and me in the parking lot. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry.
Well, if she's listening,
yeah, if she's listening,
maybe you ought to check your back before you walk outside today.
Right. Sorry, Toby. Anyway,
but as you take a look at history, through dictatorships, autocracies, there's always that level of appeasement.
Mm-hmm.
We tend to go, man, we really don't. And throughout the last 80 some years, everybody said, how could we let Hitler get away with that? How could you have allowed all throughout the 30s, this guy just kept railroading and he kept looking and going, I'm good. I'm done. That's all I wanted. And then,
then how did that work out?
9 months later, and
yeah.
Chamberlain tried to appease him. Chamberlain continued to appease because he kept promising England
And we're not
no war in my time.
we're not appeasing Russia by like holding back on the sanctions and still buying 700,000 gallons of oil.
No, I'm saying we
Or
should
barrels, I'm sorry.
we should have cut it off before he even invaded.
Yeah.
I don't think, and I mean, I remember seeing the pictures of the Ukraine and 2 days before the war, and they're walking around like there's no problem.
Mhm.
Yeah, they're mounting it, and you kind of had that feeling. Is this really something that the Democrats are just making up? Is it, legacy media, toting the line?
Right.
Well, these guys were, and then suddenly, they're coming in. We told you they were coming in. We told you they were coming in. Yeah, but we knew for the last 3 months that they were coming in. We should have started sanctioning them and saying no at that point.
Mhm.
But nobody, and I don't know why nobody believed that this guy was not going to cross a border.
I mean, so the whole time that, and I'm not advocating for Trump or dissing Biden. At this point, I just want to make sure that people understand elections have consequences and you need to pay attention to the policies of the people that you are electing. At one point, our oil or our gas, I could get a gallon of gas for 95 cents a gallon 2.5 years ago. Okay. I don't know, was Trump buddies with Putin? I don't think buddies is the word. I feel like Putin probably, whether he thought Trump was derailed or he thought he was smarter than him or whatever, he held back.
But even at that time, we were still only doing 10% from it. It has a lot to do with just policies, politics, and the futures price.
So you're saying that we are doing 10% of our oil from Russia and Venezuela and Saudi Arabia back
No,
then?
10% from Russia back then.
Okay.
Venezuela, I don't know what the current import is, but we have so many sanctions on Venezuela.
Which sucks because all they're doing is putting that on their people.
Well, yeah, that's what happens.
Mm-hmm.
When you do sanctions, it doesn't affect the government. It doesn't
No.
affect the autocracies. They still have their money.
Yep.
Yeah, we won't let them get it out of Sweden.
So what's
Their
your definition?
banks are-
Yeah. So what's their definition of autocracy?
Uh,
Or the definition of autocracy? I guess there's, but
a single rule.
Mhm.
Although, I guess it differs from a dictatorship a little bit, only by the fact that local elections still happen,
Mhm.
but the main guy ain't going anywhere, and he still writes all the. So you get a little bit of, here you are in, if the United States was an autocracy. In Green Bay, yeah, we could still elect our own mayor. It's not handpicked and shoved down your throat, like China or anywhere
Mhm.
else. You get a little bit of a say, but not on anything major.
Right. Do you feel like there's an autocracy because we only have two political parties right now? So either the Democrats are in charge,
No, because
And it flows
autocracy
down?
means one.
the one in charge.
Deuceocracy.
Oh, deuceocracy.
I don't,
Yeah,
I
we're
don't
gonna-
know.
we're
I don't
gonna
know if
make up
that's a
some
word.
new words.
I'm just going to make up a new word.
Yeah, let's
and
do it. We
that'll
do
work.
this. We do that on the show all the time.
No, we run into, and it was one of the things we were talking about before the show, and we come down to our elections now, and more likely than not, you're going to hear the lesser of two evils,
Mm-hmm.
and that's elections. Wow, how far back do we want to go? I mean,
As far back as you want, Steve.
Kennedy, Nixon, I think was still a fairly good debate. I don't know if it was necessarily a lesser of two evils. I believe that one had more to do with how we were going to handle the USSR at that point. Johnson had Vietnam, so I mean that was really the rallying cry. Nixon, Ford, we ran into Ford and Carter in '76. Carter comes away, and his policies just decimated. Although we were spiraling down at that point, we were still feeling the effects of Nixon and being taken off the gold standard at that point. People just didn't know how to react. Government, the investments into the economy slowed down so greatly in 73 and 74. And then Ford got in, and I mean, here is the first president to never be elected. And when I say never be elected, I mean he never won an election
At not
at
one
any
single-
level.
At any level.
No, he was always he was appointed a senator to replace somebody. He was appointed the vice president to replace
somebody, and then he ended up
being appointed president to replace somebody.
right.
And he lost, and so he's never actually, I believe to this day, won an election.
No, he was a president of the United States without winning an election.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about Henry Ford, guys. Just so you get
No,
yeah.
Gerald Ford.
Yeah.
Um,
I just to make
and then you
sure.
go into Reagan. I mean, I guess at some point in time, coming out of Reagan, Clinton was still pretty clear at that point, not being an overly hands-on president.
How do you think he got elected?
Bill Clinton,
Yeah.
12 years of Republicanism. There's always
And
I
he
mean,
knew how to play the saxophone.
He was a young guy, and he
He
changed the way that
People thought of.
you did elections. I mean, prior to that, and still to this day, one of the largest majority voting class or voting
Blacks.
blocks is seniors.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and some middle class or some middle-aged people, and then the youth generally just doesn't get that involved. Well, by the time Clinton came around, MTV started Rock the Vote. He was, I guess, by lack of, I don't know, a better-looking guy. He was younger. He had some. He started promising.
So it is about looks. Somebody commented on my post today, and I know I think he was kind of joking, but I was like, how do you decide what? And he said looks. And I'm like,
Well, you go back to Nixon, Kennedy. Anybody who watched that debate said Kennedy won.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody who listened to it on the radio said Nixon had
won.
won. Nixon had just gotten over like a flu or something in their first debate and just looked haggard. He was way down, but still spoke very eloquently, But going back to Bill Clinton, there was two things going against Bush at that point. He had made the ultimate failure of making a campaign promise and breaking it. Now, did he break it? No, he allowed it to happen. Congress raised
Which
the taxes.
campaign promise are you talking about?
No new taxes.
Right.
Read my lips.
Read my lips. No new taxes.
Anybody under the age of, 25 would never know that.
Right. Or probably older, whatever. Yeah.
So the Democrats pushed on that, but you also had 12 years of Republicanism. And it is hard, very hard, to hold that particular office for 2 terms, much less 3 terms, or even going into 4 terms. Very few parties have done it. One guy did it all by himself, but I mean, that was through the Depression and war. Generally, a president sitting in a major war like that, it's really hard to get rid of them at that point.
I'm surprised they didn't withhold elections at that point. National state of emergency, martial law, no elections.
No, if you did something to that effect, you would be stopping really the reason that you are, for the better part, a free nation. And you can't just turn around. look what they're yelling about Canada right now.
Mm-hmm.
Trudeau just, basically used a martial law style effect to say, we're done with this. We're going to move on. That's the way it's going to be. We're done with it. We're going to move on, and nobody can.
Right. We're just gonna take. We're not gonna let you.
We're going to take your trucks. We're going to take your
gonna-
bank
yeah,
accounts.
Right.
We're
We're
going to
You can't get gas because you have no money.
at that point, then I would say if that was America, now we need we're probably going to need to redo a lot.
Right.
But going back to your two-party system. All right. So the two-party system, and I said it last week, it's broke. It is.
I agree.
It's broke. And because I think we both on agreement, the super PACs, the amount of money that is poured into elections has so tainted anything that anybody can do at that point.
Right.
That, do I feel like they're working for Johnny over at Chevron? Sure. Yeah. Does Zuckerberg have the ear of somebody? Probably not, only because I don't know anybody that would listen to him.
Right. But he does have that money. And
He's
I think
got the money.
between the super PACs and the lobbying and all that other stuff, it does roll down to money, or roll up, roll down.
It comes down.
Comes down to money.
Comes down to
Thank
money.
you.
And I don't know anybody that's going to argue for the super PACs.
Except for the politicians, of course.
I don't even know so much if they would argue for them. You have to kowtow so much to be able to be on the plus side of that, that even though they can't give to your particular election fund, they can sway a lot more. I mean, if you only have $3 million in your election fund and you're going against a super PAC that has $60 million and they don't want you,
You better be cute.
you better have a grassroots campaign that would make Bernie Sanders go, wow, if only I had that.
Yeah, holy crap, I'm joining that club. Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to, is just that whole amount of money that you see. And I don't know any way to get around it other than we are going to have to get around it. We'd have to start a grassroots in the state levels, in all 50 states. You're going to have to start it because you're going to have to get a state to say, we want to change the Constitution, because it's been ruled on, and I incorrectly stated it was in the 90s. And remember, we figured out the super PACs actually have only been legal since 2010,
which is 11 years. That seems
that just didn't seem right.
Well, I think they were doing them prior to 2010, but now they're legal.
Well, they weren't quite the way that they were schemed up now. They were PACs. I mean, we've had PACs, political action committees, forever.
Right.
But the way that the super PACs are, and political action committees actually had limits to how much you could donate and this and that, where the super PAC, there's nothing. I mean, if Elon Musk wanted to turn around and write, $70 billion to, he can do it.
Yeah.
And nobody can say anything about it, and he doesn't have to tell anybody that he funded that super PAC.
Right. And you would think there would be more detail or more to that.
You would think we as the American populace should have the right to know, and
or demand to know.
Well, and that's getting back to that grassroots campaign that says, whether or not we want to add another amendment to a constitution. It, in my limited legal knowledge, that is about the only way I can see it happening, because the Supreme Court has ruled on it. So even if Congress goes off and makes a new law and says super PACs are no longer, they're going to come back and go, no, it was allowed.
There's a precedent.
You said it was legal under our Constitution. So you have to go out now and change the Constitution that says, here, here it is. I mean, we've talked about term limits.
Yeah, Convention of States.
Yeah, convention. But I mean, you go back to term limits. Love them and hate them.
I don't think it's a bad idea.
In some ways, yeah, because you don't want to see a guy like Strom Thurmond, who, what was it, 70, 60 plus, almost 70 years in between Congress and the Senate?
Right, but he's not even in there anymore.
No, he did now.
Yeah. How about Chuck Schumer, who is in there 38 years, Nancy Pelosi, 32 years.
Yeah.
Who's the guy, Mitch McConnell on the Republican side? I don't even know how many. I mean, there are a lot of long-timers there that have gotten the opportunity to
have their presence felt longer than any president.
And have had the opportunity to, I don't want to say instigate.
Influence.
Instigate influence. You know what I mean?
I guess I would use the term influence more, only because you look at it and you go, obviously she's the Speaker of the House, third most powerful person in the country right now. Mm-hmm. And this is a job that she had, and then the Republicans won the Congress and she lost it. And then when they came back, she's one of the only few that ever got that job back after her party, because she held so much influence over the other Democrats in there because she controlled so much of the Democratic purse strings. Mm-hmm. And that's why she's where she's at.
Right.
They didn't say, "Oh, Nancy Pelosi, we love you."
Oh my God.
It was, "Nancy, I really can't see my way to backing you." Well, I can't see my way of
losing my job.
I can't see my way of making sure that the funds get deposited in your particular election campaign. And then it's like, well,
yeah, it does roll down to money.
Whatever happens, follow the money.
Exactly.
And it doesn't matter whether it's in business, whether it's in the private or the public life.
Do you think that term limits are actually? Wait, let me rephrase this. Sorry, back up a second. Term limits, if they are good or if they could be granted or pushed or part of our policy, do you think that would make the people in Congress less likely to go with their own, to make policy based on their own needs instead of the people that they represent?
What do you see happen in a lame duck president?
Yeah.
They generally are going to do things that they probably weren't going to be able to do if they were running for re-election. They're going to be able to tell people, no, that's not what I want.
Yeah, but I don't think that having 30 years of power in the same, for instance, and this is just a for instance because it's a totally different job. So I am president of Service League of Green Bay. We do the back to school store. We only have a 2-year term. So I was vice president for 2 years. I am president for 2 years, and then I'm I take that back. Vice president for a year, president for a year, and past president. So I have a 3-year where I'm influential in decisions. But I still care enough about the charity that I keep myself involved without that influence, and I don't worry necessarily about my time in the spotlight. Do you think there's any possibility at all that our government could be like that? Because our government is supposed to be working for the country, not working for themselves.
You can, but I mean that's what the political party is supposed to be. Mm-hmm. They are supposed to be the continuation of that thought, that format, and that's why they have the Republican convention every couple of years. They have a Democratic convention every couple of years. That's where all these people who may not be elected officials, but are staffers for that particular official or press secretaries or something to that effect, to where they get together and they go, this is what the Democratic Party should stand for. This is why we want it to be, and this is how we're going to lead it. And you saw, well, we didn't see it at the last Democratic convention because it was wiped out by the C. VED.
Oh,
The
I'm
C.
like the
O,
Caribbean or the.
I got to spell things out for her.
Hey, come on.
So, COVID kind of wiped it out, but you still have what do they call themselves? The radical section of the Cortez and
Oh, progressives?
yeah, but they got a cute little name for themselves. The Squad. Thank
Oh,
you. Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
That's where the Squad comes and says, no, we are only going to do Green Deal things, and then the conservative
How's
side
that
of it
working
goes.
out for us right
Well,
now?
I mean, but the Republicans do the same thing. You know, we want this happening, and we want this happening, and we never want to hear this term again.
And so
they-
nobody can compromise because they all want their own thing. Is that what you're saying?
Compromise. Honestly, I think compromise is a dying breed.
So then, okay. All right. I agree with you. Because it seems that there are, and that's the point of the show. You know, we have people on the left and people on the right that continuously fight. And there's like, I'm willing to compromise. If you're looking for somebody to compromise, I just need to, where's my super PAC? I'll run, you know, this is going to sound very odd, but put me in a room with a bunch of whiteboards and marker boards, and I will solve a lot of problems more so than anybody else has in the last 8 years.
We'd like to think we would, but most of these people are so staunch and so dug in that changing their mind isn't a realistic prospect.
Right.
We're-
Then we got to change their job.
No, we've got, and your job along with Mike's is to get the 70% moving, to get that 70%, because even if you can get the 70% to start, and all you need is 52% of the 70%, or, you know, you got to get to that 52, and you got to get things moving. But again, the key is you're always going to make somebody mad.
Right.
You can't please everybody, and that's the problem where it comes down into the compromise. Why is it me? Why do I got to suffer? Why is it me and not him?
Right. Because
Why?
everybody, I mean, humanity itself, they all deserve equal treatment. However, and Micah and I have this discussion all the time when it comes to things like reparations and things. I'm like, just because I'm not going to just give you money because you feel like you didn't get a fair shake when you didn't take the opportunities that you had like I did when I did. You know what I mean? So you can't just...
I've listened. I understand both your sides on the whole reparations thing, and I'll leave that one just
right.
so that we get back to kind of this
right.
this
Sorry,
whole
I just
you know, the election and the consequences. So yeah, we're polarized. We know that.
Do we always have to have a right and left?
You're always, well, that goes back to the way that I put it last week was when you are viewing something, the angle that you're viewing it shows you that. But if you move or you move that object changes. Now, you may like it when you're looking at that statue straight on. Others may like it more from the side. And that's what it is. It comes down to that preference of how do you want to view it? So you can't look at somebody and go, no. come over here. You can only view it from this angle.
Right. You can't do that. It's already not working. I mean, we have proven that time and time again.
It's never worked, you know.
Right. And that's exactly why we're in the position we are now.
But standing there and looking and saying, you know, let's just go ahead and remove it, and then nobody has to view it, isn't the right way either.
Right.
You've got to learn to accept that they enjoy the view from their side, you enjoy the view from your side, but that statue is going to eventually rot if nobody's allowed to touch it.
Right.
It will eventually, the rain will deteriorate it, or the sun, whatever, wherever it's at. Somehow that will start to crumble. So we need to make sure that we don't allow it to crumble. We've got to piece this thing. We've got to keep care because we both enjoy viewing it. So we have to take care of it.
And I think that's where the two-party system, I don't think that's exactly why the two-party system, I think the two-party system came about because there were disagreements.
Sure. Well,
But
yeah, there's two sides of every coin.
right. But I think initially it was like, okay, have the view, and they were closer together. So then there was, okay, you have this side, and they were. You don't think they ever came together?
don't look back at history and go, wow, what a rosy, and oh my goodness, oh
That's
the
not what I'm
the
saying.
founding fathers were so close together. And they shot each other, you know.
Right,
Burn
right.
Hamilton, baby. And that was a political thing. That was,
Right.
you know.
And I'm not saying that necessarily, but I'm saying that there were two viewpoints, so that's why that ended up.
Well, sure, because again, you know.
But then now the viewpoints are way, and you and nobody can see me, but my arms are like way out here.
I don't know if they're any necessarily farther apart than what some of the original arguments were. I mean, yeah, take the Green New Deal versus fossil fuels. It seems like it's a mile and a half apart, but the truth is fossil fuels one day will run away.
One day, but we can't just do it right now.
You can't. Yeah, you can't just cut it. You can't cut a piece of the cake and go, the cake's still whole.
Right.
You can't take a piece out so. Yeah, should we? And somebody had asked me, you know, what do you think about the Green New Deal? And I said, look, there's a lot of things to consider. We still have to function the way we want to function, you know. So getting somebody to say, because I'm about to drive my family in a couple of weeks down to Florida. I couldn't do it in an electric car. Not in the amount of time that I'm taking.
Right. I put 30,000 miles a year on with my job. There's I can't stop every whatever. No. And
can I go back and forth to work every day in an electric car? Sure, I can.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
But again, electric still causes coal burn.
I think that's what people don't understand. Like electric, there are so many things that are dependent on the fossil fuels that you can't just cut it off.
So they seem a world apart, but they're actually closer together than you think because they both have problems. Now, can they work together and fix those problems? We hope so. And I mean,
not with the people that we have right now. I don't think any of the people that we have in our current government making policies that will get us on track together have the mindset to get on track together.
Well, of course not. Because why?
Because we're human.
The money that's behind
Oh,
that.
yeah.
It comes back to the money.
It comes greed. Greed.
You know, greed, wanting to stay where, even if it was $0 dollar.
Right. Nobody likes change.
They just don't want to give it up because they're unsure. You know, could Exxon become the new green company? Sure, if they spent enough money and did it, and they have money that they invest in green because they know one day oil's not going to be there. But for right now, oil is the thing that's keeping them, you know, in the 40-foot yacht and the $1 million mansion, and all the investors love it because they're still making dollar after dollar after dollar. So, get kind of jumping into a new way to do it. Let's talk about ranked choice voting.
Okay.
All right, we discussed it a little bit. We had to look it up to actually see what is this called again.
Yeah, I know. And I'm like, there's 3 types, and oh yeah.
All right, so if you don't know what ranked choice voting is, it's basically stating here's some candidates, and you're going to go into the ballot booth during the primaries, and you're going to say candidate A is my first choice, candidate C is my second choice, candidate D is my third choice, and other people are going to vary. They're going to add those up, and they're going to give you the top 2 that run off. Unless during that primary, somebody gets 50%. Then they automatically become
The primary person.
then they automatically win the election.
All right.
But you have to have 50 point. I believe that's the way it's run, and somebody can quote me or somebody can correct me. But as I understood it out of New York,
we have some fans. What do we have some listeners to the podcast.
We have people.
We have people that would probably be interested in researching that for us, and maybe.
But I got to say, I thought it was the worst thing I'd ever heard of in my life. This ranked choice voting. What? No, you're idiots.
It's like
What the more?
do you like chocolate cake or carrot cake or cheesecake? Well, I like chocolate cake the most. I like carrot cake and that's not my personal opinion, but I get what you're saying.
But I'm just saying, and the more I looked at it, I was kind of like, I'm very intrigued by it now. I think I would like to have it, try it out on.
I think it gives people an opportunity not to have to make that ultimate choice.
Well, and it's getting away from the one thing that we talked about, the lesser of 2 evils. All right. Yeah, I kind of want Tommy because Tommy really spoke a good game, but I don't think Tommy's going to be able to carry it. But I'm going to put Tommy number 1, and then number 2, I'm going to put Johnny because, Johnny's been there, and you kind of feel like then you can get out there and maybe cast that ballot for that third person.
Right. You don't have that ultimate choice.
Yeah. And then we don't have the
So Tommy Lee Jones, Johnny Depp, and Chuck Norris are going to be on the ballot. I'm thinking Chuck.
Tommy Lee, man, because he was an Elvis fan.
Oh, yeah. Who isn't an Elvis fan? Come on.
I've met some people, but we get away from that the lesser of 2 evils, and I think it gives, especially in that primary, and one of the things that I've always disliked about Wisconsin is that it is party primaries. Yeah. You only get to vote Republican or you only get to vote Democrat.
Right.
Who do you want? And it comes down to play a lot more, when the governor becomes involved or the attorney general, something to that effect. Where, look, I might like candidate A for the governor, my candidate C or my one for the attorney general.
Yeah.
I actually want this guy over here, and he's on the Democratic side, and I don't get to say, I really would like him to be in the primary, because then in the open election, I can go ahead and vote for him.
Right.
And
that's where we have problems because we can't combine.
Well, that's here in Wisconsin. Not every state has that.
No, not every state, but we're not the only state either.
Yeah, we're not the only state. So, that becomes that whole issue of, God, I don't like that style of primary. It irritates me because I don't want to, just because I like that one guy, now I got to, what am I supposed to do?
So what's your perfect style of primary?
Just open primary. Just, you get to vote for whoever you want to vote for.
And how many people should be on that ballot?
If you can get 10,000 signatures, it depends upon what it is. I think for like the governor, I think you need 10,000 signatures and
something like that. Yeah. And a bunch of money.
for the alderman in Green Bay, or
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like 200 signatures, 300 signatures. I'm not entirely sure on that, but I know they have to go out and they've got to collect signatures and have,
Yeah.
start talking to people and go, hey, this is why I
Well,
want to
they
run.
should, because they need to talk to. I mean, if this is the reason that you want to run, doesn't necessarily mean that the people around you are.
Yeah,
And
they may turn around and look at you and go,
What the heck?
No.
Yeah. I mean, well, and you should still be able to run. But the thing is, when then you bring the money in politics, and then it's like.
you've got to have some support. I mean, nobody wants to see, somebody just go down and I'm going to run for this and this and this and that. I'm going to put my name on governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general,
I should
state
do that.
senator,
My last name starts with A. I'll be on the top of all the ballots.
I'm just going to write, I want to be on all the ballots because
Something will stick.
I don't know. I mean, who knows? Somebody just goes, I think I heard that name.
Right.
'cause
And that's the
they,
way that.
they didn't do any research and
That's how I feel like it is. People feel obligated to vote because we pump into it's your American duty or it's your whatever citizen duty, whatever you want to call it, and then people go and vote. Like I have people, because they know I pay attention, ask me all the time, who should I vote for? I'd be fine to tell you, but it really would be great if you would just do your own research. And because that doesn't make me any better than the guy standing on the pulpit saying, hey, I'm going to do this for you.
Depends if you want to go out there and you like that candidate a lot and you want to look at somebody and go.
What if I like that
if somebody
candidate a
looks at me
lot
and
just
says-
because he gives me a bunch of money?
Well, then, he bought your support.
Well,
Then I think a little less of you.
as well you should.
Okay. But, so is there a perfect way to run an election? Probably not. But like I said, this ranked choice voting has intrigued me.
Mm-hmm.
I think it might be interesting to see how that comes about.
Yeah.
Whether or not, I'm sure nationally they would never, because, oh my God, they can't believe the results now. So why would they
Right.
the results
exactly.
of a ranked choice?
So in that, on a nationwide basis, in 2020 we have the popular vote and then we have the electoral vote. Do you believe that either one of them are beneficial, or do you think that they need to stick together?
The Electoral College originally came about so that you couldn't stuff ballot boxes.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't matter. You only had one vote for your 11,000 people or whatever the initial elector number was. But that was one of the reasons why it came about. They didn't want ballot stuffing. They didn't want, Maine has 7,000 people, but they cast, 30,000 votes for the president. And I'm talking like in, 1889
Okay.
or 1789.
Yeah. When they
So that was one of the reasons why it really came about. It was their way of protecting against ballot stuffing. And the other reason why was they weren't sure that the American populace was going to be intelligent enough to really pick the good candidate, to pick a person that wasn't corrupt and didn't want to make this suddenly
and how
into
that
an
work out for
octagonist.
us?
Well, 68 years later, we're still a free country.
We are, fortunately, because there are a lot of us that fight for that.
Well, there was a lot of them that fought for it back then, and now you can stand there and say, you're a free country, but you got a couple of black eyes, and hell yeah, we do.
Mm-hmm.
We've not been perfect.
Are those black eyes ever going to heal, or are they always going to be there?
Black eyes heal, but the problem is somebody gonna punch you again. And that's part of where we're at now is
Mm-hmm.
it seems like everybody's just punching. You know, if you say one thing wrong, but on the Electoral College, has it run its course? Somewhat, yeah. Somewhat. But it also stops New York and LA
Exactly.
from electing our
That's where
from being-
I feel like the electoral college, is beneficial because there are states like Maine, Montana, that have less populace
Yeah.
that still should have a voice.
Yeah.
So do the people of Montana want the people of LA and California to be running the show for them?
If you ran for president, you only have to win New York, Texas, and California. Mm-hmm. If it's the populist vote,
Right.
that's it. That's all you have to win.
So then those,
I only have to spend money in 3 states. To hell with the rest of you.
which is fucking bullshit.
That's
Sorry,
what you're gonna. That's
yeah.
what you're gonna hear. You're gonna hear to hell with the rest of you. Mm-hmm. I get it. You're a nice little cute puppy,
Right,
But-
but you don't know. You're all rednecks or hicks or backwards, whatever, or
Yeah.
you don't know anything. You don't live in the big city. You don't, whatever. And this is the way the world should be.
Yeah. So, and New York, California, and Texas will turn around and tell you, we have more people and we pay more in taxes and we should get,
That
it's a-
doesn't give anybody else a voice. Then you might
It's-
as well just have the 3 of those states.
well,
filed.
then you might as well just break it up and call it the Confederacy of the United
Right.
States.
Or have
And we're
this-
all going to be just, we'll have one national.
And eventually, it's just going to be
army.
New York and California battling because Texas will eventually, whatever. And it'll be the West Coast and the East Coast. And we'll all, yeah.
We've seen that play out, Biggie. Biggie and Tupac played that out for us.
They did. They did.
And it doesn't end well. It
Modern
just
version
doesn't
of West
end
Side
well.
Story, yeah.
Yeah. No. So yeah, the Electoral College still has a place, and until we figure out probably a little bit better way, I'm all right with it. Yeah, everybody gets mad because Donald Trump didn't win the popular vote in 2016 and Hillary did, so Hillary should be, but because if you take a look at the map and he won
He won
70
the
per, 70
Midwest.
he won 70% of the land.
Mm-hmm.
In
Right.
and
When you think
she
of
only
it
won
as-
30% of the land.
Right.
So those that own land should have more say, right? Well, no, we fought against England to stop that, right?
Right.
Yeah. So
Right.
okay. Yeah. So it's just one man, one vote.
That's
I'm
why.
sorry.
That's why. Yeah.
Do you want to reach over and slap me for that?
No.
Did you hear what I said?
Oh, it's only one man, one vote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One person, one vote.
It doesn't.
Sorry.
I totally. I am not. I mean, it is International Women's Day today, March 8th. Just so you are aware.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
It is Women's.
What day is International Man's Day?
I don't know.
Yeah,
See,
nobody
and-
cares.
yeah, well, and that's shitty too.
I don't.
You know,
I heard it somewhere that it was. But yeah.
there's probably I don't know.
All right. So
Anyway, so
the Electoral College, you in or out?
I'm in.
Okay.
It makes perfect sense to me.
We're in. If anybody else has an opinion, send it to us.
Yeah.
Let us know. Maybe we're missing something that we should not miss.
Right. I mean, on the 70% podcast, we try to make sure that everybody is knowledgeable about all opinions or both sides. We're not trying to say this is the way it should be or this is the way it shouldn't be. I mean, yeah, we have our opinions, and Mike always likes to say, in my opinion, which
He's never wrong. just so you know, Mike's never wrong.
he's never wrong.
No.
Oh, I'll argue that all day long. But anyway.
Well, not in his mind.
Oh, in his mind. Yeah. So that's a typical man thing.
Yeah.
Kidding.
Oh.
Uh-huh.
There's
See?
a shot back at us.
Anyway, so what is your take on the next president? Do you think Biden should Biden should run again?
I don't believe the Democrats will put him up.
He says he's running.
And I don't, like I said, I don't know if it's just, from what I understand, they now say it's a speech impediment.
Yes, I heard that.
But
If you have a speech impediment suddenly, that's a brain issue.
cognitive reasoning, not that he can't form a well thought out opinion, but getting it out of the brain and into the microphone
And getting other people around you, just because you have that cognitive ability at one point, can you? I equate it to a boardroom, but like over whatever, a war room, whichever. Can you sit at a table with a bunch of other people and lead that conversation?
Yeah. Here's the thing. Go back to Ronald Reagan. In his second term, the amount of information that is out in forms of books and interviews, but he napped like 15 minutes out of every hour. They said they'd just look over and his head would be down.
Well, that's
and
awesome.
out.
If you have the right people behind you.
That's great, but that's
You guys
not really,
can't see me smiling because I'm being facetious.
Somebody then is filling in for that time.
All right. So who do you think is filling in for Biden right now?
I don't know. They're the White House is full of staffers, and staffers that may or may not report to him. I don't know. I can't speak fully of it. I'm not there.
I have my
But
theories, of course. But
I have. They have policies that everybody gets a little input in, and I think sometimes he turns around and says, "No, I'm not going to actually say that," and then they go. And then they feed it through
his little
teleprompter, and then he starts talking, and so yeah.
In my opinion, there's no reason that anybody, and this is going to sound totally ageist and crappy to the people that are very cognitively sharp at the age of 75 or 80. But I think at that point in your life, there has got to be, like, why take on that? Why would we depend on that person to fulfill 4 years? I don't even know. I mean, my dad died at 75. Why would I think that somebody else can survive another 4 years and carry on? And be cognitive and be, whatever. And I'm bringing it down to personal levels. But what I'm saying is that when the average age of degeneration in our society is 74 to 76, and now we're getting an 83-year-old guy to come in and be the president of the United States and have his button on the freaking football. Or his finger on the button. Sorry. His button on the football. You know what I'm saying. And the football has nothing to do with Aaron Rodgers, people, okay?
What you're speaking of is rampant ageism.
It is rampant ageism.
We are now going to have to cancel Amy Alexander.
Oh, damn it.
Cancel culture. If you're out there, could you please
It was
start
nice knowing y'all. Follow my nude podcast called the 68% podcast.
The 2%
The
that
2%
are still willing to listen to me?
The 2% that hate me right now.
No, is there a time where, in that same aspect, then why do we allow a Supreme Court judge to sit there until they're 90?
That's a very good question.
97.
And this is the thing that and I'm not saying that, I think Donald Trump in the presidency, whether he was meant to be there, was good at that, whatever, everybody hated him, that's fine. But I think he brought out the hypocrisy of a lot of things. So everybody on the left thought Donald Trump was incapable of being president. He was, and all these things. And they tried to impeach him and say, oh, yeah, he's cognitively or whatever. But now we have this guy
The guy was a social ass. And I don't think anybody will deny that.
So being a social ass doesn't make you a
Well,
good leader?
No, I didn't say that. But the guy was a social ass. I mean, I
know.
voted for him twice, and I'll tell you this. He was a social ass. And he was the second time, I seriously looked at my ballot for probably 5 minutes before I actually filled it in because
Hillary was a better choice?
no, this was between Biden and the second time around.
Oh,
there.
I'm sorry.
Second time around.
Second time, yeah.
And the only reason I didn't put, because I knew how bad Joe Biden would be. Trump got my vote the second time because the Democrats threw somebody so horribly unqualified for that position.
But he was vice president.
So was Dan Quayle. I mean, come on. Just because you got to be the vice presidents generally are people who will garnish support in a difficult area for their running mate. Lyndon Baines Johnson was on the ticket with Robert F. Kennedy, or John F. Kennedy. Sorry. Should never have been on that ticket. The only reason that he was there was because they knew they needed Texas. That was the only reason Johnson got on the ticket. Kennedy hated Johnson. He really did not like him in the least.
Yeah, a little bit.
So
No, not even a little.
I mean, they had such differing viewpoints in the Republican or in their Democratic Party that it was unbelievable that, and everybody went, who did he pick? And they all went, well, yeah.
Do you think Biden truly picked Harris?
No, the Democratic Party picked.
The DNC?
Yeah. I mean, they went through a laundered list of, and they wanted to make sure that they had a woman
vice president.
And preferably a woman of color, which is really what they wanted. I mean,
right.
Harris is really not qualified. I mean, if something happened to Biden, I would probably state that even her own party would turn around and say, yeah, we're going to have to have you step down.
And then what do we have? Pelosi?
Then you have Pelosi.
So is that by design?
It could have been. Who knows? Nancy's a smart woman.
She is a vindictive woman.
Yeah,
very
well,
much so.
She seems to be. I don't know her personally. I couldn't speak to her on that, but she seems to. She plays the political game.
Well, she's been doing it for 34 years.
Yeah.
32, 34, whatever. And that's what that gets you.
Yeah.
You know, it just.
So, 2024, do I see a Trump Biden too? I don't think so. I don't think Trump wants to be the kingmaker now. He's not so interested in being the king because it's a lot of work, and he wasn't really fond of the work.
Right, he's been through the wash.
And they don't
it affected
know
his family.
Outside of people running for office, there's not a lot of, and I'm talking in the RNC. There's not a lot of people going, Trump, we want you back in.
Right.
There's
a lot of people out there. Like there's a lot of people that are like going to the rallies and
the
whatever.
ones that want Trump in there because they go, well, Donnie, can you make sure that my district, which is heavily Trumped, can you back me? And he goes, well, will you back me?
Right.
He wants to be the kingmaker, and he's having more fun being the kingmaker than he is.
Right.
Probably going to be president. Probably than he would be.
I think he
president.
could be a good influencer as far as making sure that people get on board of on the on the train of, the Trump train of whoever he's backing. But I don't know. I think we need a woman president next.
I don't care.
I don't. No, I'm not saying
I-
that
I'm not-
it doesn't have to be male or female, but I'm saying let's give that a try because there are smart. And I'm not saying Hillary Clinton because you go back to Watergate and Hillary has had a sordid past and with whatever. So I'm not saying Hillary Clinton. I'm not saying
What was her
Harris.
name that had the RNC response to the State of the Union?
Kathy,
out in Nebraska. She's what they say is on the fast track right now. But again, remember, we are in 2022. The front runners never,
Right.
you
Well,
don't
that's
you
what
don't
I'm
hit
concerned
you
about.
don't hit stride until
right. But we have to because we have a primary coming up in November. November 2022 is going to be
we have Ron Johnson.
not a primary. I'm sorry. We have
we have midterms.
midterms.
Yeah.
There are a lot of seats open. There are a lot of changes that we can make.
Yeah, here in Wisconsin, we have a senator that'll be up for election. Governor? Yeah,
Governor?
Governor will be on that ballot.
Yeah. I can't-
So
yeah.
we have a lot to really dive into, and as Amy and Mike always tell you guys, they're not here to be on a soapbox for anybody. They're here to get you guys to do your own research.
And think.
Get out
and
there,
think
think.
about how this is. Actually.
And then one of the things that I always tell everybody is, in my work life, running a business, I'm always looking at 6 months, 12 months. I don't look too much past 12 months. It's great that you can write down, I got a 5-year goal. But as most people tell you, the 5-year goal only makes you disappointed usually. If you do it by 6 by 12 and go by 6 by 12,
Well, yeah, you have to have stepping stones.
you'll hit it. But where most people fail then is where they'll look at it and go, well, I have a 5-year goal, but they don't do the stepping stones. And 5 years, I want to be, one of the famous questions from interviewers is, and where do you see yourself in 5 years? You know what they don't want to hear? You looking at them going, well, I'm either going to have your job or I'm going to be working for another company doing your job.
Right.
Because they're going to go, well,
But then
he's willing to leave.
right. But and I've always been an entrepreneur, so I've never, my goal is to get this job so that I can get through the real estate market that's crappy right now. And then I'm talking back in 2008, whatever.
I was gonna say it's not now.
Yeah, no. Well, it depends on how you look at it.
See,
Yeah.
here's your 12 months right there. I mean, in 12 months,
I have a 20-year. I used to in the last house. I had a 20-year plan. I had a chalkboard wall, and this is my 1 year, my 3 year, my 5 year, my 10 year, my 20 year.
were you willing to change them? Were you willing to move them?
Yeah,
Yeah,
of
that's
course.
what you have to be willing to do.
right. But you still keep your eye on the ultimate prize.
Yeah,
Which
it's fine to say
Mm-hmm.
I want to retire at 65. I want to retire at 55. I want to retire at 45.
Oh, I've said that I was going to retire at 50, and here I am not retired. So yeah, of course you change your plan, but you make, the coming back to the election process, I guess, when you think about what is good in your life now and the things that have changed in your life since the elections do have consequences.
Yes.
You definitely need to pay attention to the people that are out there campaigning to be the leader, because just because you feel like they look good or they know certain people or they have the most money or they play the saxophone or whatever the deal is, that doesn't make them good for you.
No, But there's that perspective again.
Mm-hmm.
Which view of that statue do you like?
I like the libertarian view myself,
Okay.
but that's just me.
You know, in doing that, I guess we need to make sure that just in case our guy doesn't win,
Mm-hmm.
is the other guy also looking at the statue that we're looking at and going, let's keep that together?
Well, and that's a whole nother thing because we have to. What kind of honesty are we really getting? What kind of truth in media are we really getting? You can think that the guy sees your perspective and is looking at your side of the statue or whatever, however you want to put that. But that information is coming from somebody else.
Sure.
And-
Go back to our pre-conversation and the soundbite.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the click. That's all the media wants anymore.
Right.
They want you for. They used to want you for a half hour every night.
What was the title? It was DeSantis we were talking about earlier, where he.
Oh yeah. Quick story here. CNBC or NBC. DeSantis was giving a speech to some kids last week or whatever, and he walked up and they were all masked, and I guess the people behind them were not. And he had walked up on the stage and he took his mask off and he said, "Hey guys, I just want to let you know, if you want, take off your mask." And there's actual audio of him just saying, "Hey, I don't know if they told you had to wear them, but I don't care whether you wear them. If you want to take them off,
yeah.
If you want to take them off, whatever you want to do." The headline of the story was DeSantis chastises kids for wearing masks. That's ridiculous.
And
I mean, that's such poor reporting. That guy should never have a job. And I know it was a guy that wrote that one. I just can't think of the reporter. But in my opinion, you failed miserably in whatever college gave you a degree in journalism should probably take it back.
Well, and I think maybe that's another topic for the next show. Anyway.
People who should lose their degrees.
Right, exactly, and educating our kids. All right,
Yeah.
Well, we're running past time. Thank you so much, Steve, for joining us.
Had a wonderful time. Thank you for inviting me.
Good. And maybe Mike doesn't come back next week and you show up. I don't know.
Well, Mike doesn't come back. No doubt.
Right? Oh, hey, wait. You got to wait. So this is Amy Alexander.
This is Steve Pausenbach.
And please like, comment, share, and subscribe.
No doubt.
Bye, Mike. Don't put the bye mic in there, Nate. That is.
He says no, that's going in. That was gold.